Good afternoon, everybody. I have 12 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us today. I think we have a really good presentation today. So most of you are probably familiar, but the Wednesday webinar series was established as part of the Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program to provide public information officers and other communication-related fields with virtual opportunities to address topic-specific issues in quick one-hour monthly webinars. I do need to say that the opinions expressed during this webinar are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent the official position of Kentucky Emergency Management or its staff. So today's webinar, this webinar is designed for government professionals who manage their agency's social media alongside other critical responsibilities. We'll cover the essentials of government social media strategy, how to build leadership buy-in, and how to take a proactive approach that strengthens trust and engagement before high-stakes moments unfold. You'll leave with a stronger foundation, practical safeguards, and confidence to communicate clearly, protect public trust, and lead your agency's social media presence with purpose. Please help me welcome Ariana Donnelly. We are very lucky to have her today. Ariana is the social media manager for government social media, where she trains and hosts on social strategy and public engagement and serves as MC for GSMCon, the largest social media conference for government. She previously worked as a broadcast journalist and as the first public media relations manager for the Birmingham Police Department. Ariana holds a degree in journalism with a minor in human rights from Southern Methodist University. Outside of her work, she is usually scrolling social to check on the latest trends, tackling a DIY project, or spending time outdoors with her family. So again, thank you, Ariana, for joining us. Everybody help me with a virtual round of applause. I am going to stop my share and turn it over to you, Ariana. And thank you
Hi.
so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for the warm welcome. I really appreciate it, especially with the virtual clapping. It makes me real happy to see that. Thank you all. Well, happy Wednesday. I'm really excited to be presenting today. I'm joining from Oklahoma, and we just had a tornado watch last night. So it makes me very appreciative for people who work in your position with emergency management, getting those alerts out there. So, first, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the hard work you do. Now, I do love a really active chat. So if there's anything that I'm talking about today that you'd like to comment on, maybe ask a question, I'll do my best to keep up with the chat. But please talk amongst yourselves. I love those sidebar conversations with the other people here online during these webinars. So I do spend a lot of time working with other people who are juggling government social media. Along with, of course, other roles. So I know that that might describe some of you here today. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen because I'm going to have a question for us to sort of get started here in the chat today. Okay, here we go. Okay, hopefully you're seeing my slide deck now. Let me know if you're having any trouble seeing it. But I'd
Looks
like to.
great.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, I'd like to start out with this question as a poll as well. So, what is your official job title, and how much time would you estimate that you spend on social media tasks each day? As I said, I know that might not be your full time job. You probably maybe not even have it in your job title. So, we get that a lot of teams of one as well. So, go ahead and let me know. And I'll continue on here today with what you can expect to learn today. So I know that for a lot of agencies, as I mentioned, social media is just one aspect of the job. You might be handling emergency communications, public information, or something else entirely. So today's session is really going to be built with that in mind. And that's why we're going to be talking about the essentials of a strong government social media strategy, as well as accessibility practices that make your content clearer for everyone online. Comment moderation. I know that's not a fun one, but really to help you deal with misinformation, helping to avoid a First Amendment lawsuit as well, getting buy in from leadership, and then also some time saving tools and systems that will hopefully make all of this just a little bit easier for you. Really, the goal for this session is that you leave feeling a lot more equipped and confident in your daily work. Because when social media is done really well for agencies, it does something really important. It's going to help you build trust before those high stakes moments happen. And that trust really makes such a huge difference when your community needs accurate information quickly. So let's start with another important question. You don't have to answer this one in a poll or in the chat, But this question is going to be about what does success actually look like for a government social media organization? So in the private sector, success is often measured with sales, but for government, it's very different. It's not just about likes, views, or follower counts like it would be for a regular business. A successful post really should do at least one of two things. So that's going to be to support your agency's mission, as well as helping your community understand something really important, right? So, one of the biggest mistakes that agencies make is only showing up during an emergency moment. Now, if the only time people are hearing from your agency is when that something has gone wrong, then that relationship is really going to start from a very stressful place. When people are seeing your agency regularly sharing on social media, so that could be preparedness tips or highlighting your staff experts, showing just the mundane everyday work, that's when your agency really becomes recognizable and your voice is going to become familiar to your audience. Now, that way, when an emergency does happen, the public already knows where to go for reliable, credible information that they can trust. Because unfortunately, trust, that's not going to be built during a crisis. That's really built on those blue sky days where everything seems like it's going okay. Now, there is a misconception that government agencies have to be overly professional on social media. And I know your websites, your press releases, those obviously need to be a little bit more formal, but social media is quite different these days because we've really seen a shift in the last few years of people turning to social media for entertainment and also wanting that authenticity. Now, back in the old days when it first kind of started, people really just wanted to connect with people they knew personally in real life, their friends, but really now they want to see that originality and that authenticity and feel like they really know a brand or a government agency even. Now, agencies, they can also capitalize on this entertainment value and do it in a way that's going to capture and hold people's attention in a way that they're more likely to understand those important PSAs that you're putting out there instead of just, seeing a regular post and scrolling away, something that might be a little bit more, I guess, in traditional sense, a little bit overly professional, like just posting a screenshot or a PDF of a press release. There are other ways to get people that information in a way that they're actually going to be excited to consume it and understand what your agency is doing. So I want to go ahead and play an example. This is from Buckeye, Arizona Fire on Instagram. So just have a quick video for you.
My name is no. My time is no. My number is no. You need to let it go. You need to let it go. Need to let it go. Time to let it go.
Okay, so that's quite a different style of PSA than a lot of people are used to seeing. It's just a 15-second video, but it makes a really big impact. Now, they basically used a popular song to share some life-saving information about hiking safety. So this video did really well. It got over 280,000 views and 19,000 likes and a lot of positive comments. What I really love about this video is here on the screen, they're direct to the camera, it's entertaining, it's informative, and it feels very authentic. It helps humanize their agency by showing the people who actually work there while relaying this information. Now, I know that litter, that's another pretty dry topic that's tough to get people to care about if they don't already. So this is a fun way that Washington Department of Ecology was able to do sort of a memeified PSA to grab attention. They posted this as an image carousel, so meaning people could swipe through to see multiple different memes relating to this. Now, Lord of the Rings, pretty much always popular, but more so lately since the Peter Jackson films hit their 25th anniversary this year, and a lot of new projects are in the work as well for the franchise. So capitalizing on trending events or topics can really help you join a conversation that people are already excited about. Just make sure that you're tying it back to your agency's mission in a meaningful way instead of just trying to chase being viral and just getting those likes. So what I love about this one, it starts out with the classic theme from this scene. You have my sword, you have my bow and my axe, and it ends with the agency's mascot saying, and my litter bag. So just a fun way to get that in. And I want to show you the caption as well. They even played around with the Lord of the Rings theme in the caption to add a little bit more information to this PSA, and it performed really well for them. So I also want to show you another example. I'll get to it in just a minute because I know, of course, not every post can be fun or entertaining. That's where your voice and your tone, that's really going to come into play. So I want you to think of your agency's voice as your personality. So for example, your voice could be friendly and helpful, and that's your goal for each of your posts. But your tone, that's going to change depending on the specific event that you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with a tragedy, for example, you can maintain that helpful personality while adjusting your tone to fit that situation. So I want to show you this example now. This is from Riverside County Sheriff and their dispatch as well. So this was posted as a collaborative reel. And this was about a 36-second video that really makes an impact because it shows the public what the dispatchers go through on a daily basis and also shows some authenticity with that background behind the scenes audio that was in there as well. It's also direct to camera. It's very informative. And of course, it's emotional. It's heavy because these dispatchers do go through a lot on a daily basis. So it just really shows people what is dealt with behind the scenes that they may not have access to if they've never worked around a government agency as well. Now, this video did really well for them as well. It got over 6,000 likes and a lot of supportive comments as well that were very understanding of what they were trying to relay here. Now, I do want to mention diversifying content that can really help you tell the same story in multiple different ways. So, for example, you're sharing the same subject matter in different ways. So maybe you can do the fun short form video for one of your posts about a certain topic, but then you can also share that more serious graphic or a text only post. That way, you're trying out different content styles on different platforms as well to see what resonates best with your audience, and also change it up just depending on what tone you believe is most appropriate for the different platforms as well. So you're not trying to do the same exact post on every single platform because it's really important to cater to what people want to see on each platform. For example, LinkedIn, you might stay a little bit more serious while saving your fun videos for Instagram, of course. That way, people are going to have multiple opportunities to see your content and then interact with whichever type they prefer. Now, if social media falls under your other duties as assigned, then trying to post everywhere all the time, that's going to be a really fast path to burnout. And I see we do have the results for that poll that we started out asking about your job title. So, okay, let's see. A lot of people answered. Okay, thank you for your answers on those. We'll have a few more polls as well throughout. Okay, so I do want to mention that you don't need to be everywhere, but you do need to be very intentional. So that doesn't mean you have to post every second of every day. The algorithms really favor quality over quantity. So that means that original, authentic content, that's going to go a lot further than just trying to meet some arbitrary quota of 10 times a day, for example. So what does that mean in practice? Generally, posting 2 to 5 times per week per platform can be a really healthy rhythm to help you grow without getting extremely overwhelmed with a heavy load of content. And consistency, that's really going to matter more than volume. So before we get into some more examples, I do want to talk about adapting a smart system to help you get more organized. That way you can produce content more efficiently and pivot to something else during an emergency as well, because we highly recommend using a content calendar if you're not already. A content calendar can do a lot more than just prove to yourself or to your admins that you're posting. It can really help you create clarity around what is being worked on, help you track any approvals that need to happen, and then also give you a way to pivot really quickly if you have a crisis pop up. So now I'd like to know, what is your favorite organizational tool? You can just pop it in the chat. Because we're really big fans of Asana at Team GSM. So let me know if any of you all use that. So I'm going to give you a look at what it's like. Here we go.
Hey,
Okay,
Ariana,
yes.
I didn't know if you checked out the results of the first poll, but we have a wide range of people that are attending today. Some that are wearing it as an other hat and do a half hour a day, some that are full time. And then I did have a question in the chat. I hope you don't
Yes.
mind, but somebody
Sure.
asked about the Lord of the Rings meme and copyright issues. So I think in specific, or, in general, with those memes, are there any copyright issues that need to be considered? And I will.
Yeah, so that's a really good question when we get a lot. So fair use would come into play a lot of times with memes. I would recommend always consulting with your agency attorney if that's something that you want to get into and you're not currently doing, because they're going to have the best guidance for you on any local or maybe state laws that might be different from one agency to another. So I hope that's helpful. But thank you for calling out that question in the chat. I got a lot of windows here going, so I appreciate you. And I know we've got that next poll up. So if you're able to share those results, I might not be able to see them on my end. So I'd appreciate you cutting in and letting me know for the organizational tool as well.
Sure.
But
I'm looking at the results right now.
perfect.
I ended the poll. We got about 14 people responded. So somebody said Monday.com.
Yes.
One of them says Asana, Outlook calendar, Metricool, which is what I use. I love that one. Monday, Hootsuite, Trello, ClickUp, Asana again, Hootsuite again. So it looks like Hootsuite and Asana and Trello all very popular.
Perfect. Thank you for those answers. Yeah, I wasn't able to see the results, so I really appreciate you reading those off to me. So those are a lot of great, different places that we've heard that people really enjoy. As I mentioned, we like to use Asana quite a bit at Team GSM. So this is what that looks like. And the good news is there is a free version. So if you're looking at this and thinking, okay, I can't afford another program, I don't want to go to my budget office and try to get approval again, there is a free version of Asana. So that's always good. This is basically a bird's eye view of our content calendar. So we've got a lot of color coding here where you can see basically social media posts. Those are in blue. Our general newsletters, those are marked in yellow, so on. And the reason they kind of look a little bit transparent is because these are completed tasks. This is a look at our February calendar. So thankfully we got all of those tasks done, or we might have had to move them around if something we couldn't get around to it. But it's just a really helpful tool for tracking the progress of your different tasks that you have going on. So another question we get a lot is, social media isn't part of my only job. And thank you for those answers earlier to let me know more of what your background is. Then this is still a really helpful tool, because having an editorial calendar, whatever program you choose to have it in, it can still help you keep track. So for example, let's say you're a PIO, you could color code your social media posts, your press releases, any upcoming media interviews that you need to prepare for, or any other projects that can help you just visually map out each week, see what you have going on, and track your progress. Now, I did mention there is a free version, so I want to give you a look at that. This is basically a free template where you can create your content calendar. And it essentially allows you to connect up to 2 users. And again, you get access to those free templates. Content calendar is not the only one. There's other templates in there as well. But in each of those tasks that you see, you can add different subtasks in there and then assign those out to other people. If you're a team of 1, maybe your subtask would be assigned to whoever your administrator is that needs to sign off on a graphic design or the caption that you want to share with your post. So you can actually assign those out. You can put due dates on there if you want to. Really helps you keep track of your workflow. And you can also add comments on each task as well as each subtask. So that helps anyone that's jumping in. Let's say you had to table a project for 6 months or something, and people need to hop back in. It's got all that context there saved, so they can just read back and review, hop right in and keep your projects moving, even if there's some sort of delay. Let's say you have an emergency and need to shift a project. It's really helpful for that. And I know some of you said Monday.com, Airtable, Trello. Those are also great options too. It just is whatever your preference is. And if you want just an even really basic version, I've seen people use Google Sheets or Excel, for example, just to create something from scratch for yourself. Now, if your agency is primarily on Instagram and Facebook, you can also take advantage of Meta Business Suite as sort of a free content calendar. Again, that's only going to be for Facebook and Instagram since it is a Meta product. But this is just a quick look at their planner tool, and you can use it. You can't use it again for other social platforms, but it'll help you schedule posts for Instagram and Facebook, and then also get a quick look at your analytics for already published posts. And finally, last thing on the content calendar planning, if you don't have a budget for a third-party platform management software that can connect to other different social media programs, then Buffer is also a good option. They do have a free version. You can connect up to 3 social media profiles. So for example, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. and you can schedule posts for free that way. That way you're not having to go log into each one separately. But if you wanted to get analytics with it, then you would have to upgrade to a paid account. But one thing I really like with Buffer is you can see in this example, we put the basic text in here and it went ahead and suggested images as well. So if you're really, really short on time and you need to schedule something, maybe you don't have necessarily a good visual to go with it, you might get some stuff suggested based on any links you're sharing. Okay, and I see Avery, you're being really helpful in the chat about Monday.com. So thanks for adding that. And Planner on Microsoft OneDrive is also a useful tool. So that's great. Thanks for adding that. All right, let's move on to talk briefly about AI. Okay, do you use any AI tools to support your social media tasks? You can just let me know in the chat or with that poll if you can let me know what those results are. I know AI is kind of a controversial topic for a lot of people, not just in government, but really anywhere. There's, of course, different concerns people have with it, but I'd like to know where you stand right now with AI. And as you answer, artificial intelligence can really be a big help, especially when you are short on time. So thank you for your answer, Edwin. Not at this time. Yeah, it's one of those things that a lot of people have a lot of questions about. Understandably, it's constantly changing. So it's really helpful to read up on what sort of tools are out there. I know a lot of people have been sort of using AI for a while, maybe without realizing it. For example, with Grammarly, just to kind of spell check as you ride along. But of course, the programs have become a lot more advanced. So I want to give you a look at what we see is more commonly used. So I really love this visual. This is from our founder, Christy Dalton, explaining how a lot of social govs use some of these most popular models. So at the beginning here from OpenAI, that's a large language model from ChatGPT. That's probably the most familiar ChatGPT tool. I see some nodding heads. So that's a generative AI chatbot that can help you write captions, suggest content ideas. And then the video app Sora 2, that's actually crossed out here because it's being sunset. You might have seen a lot of concern about deep fake. So that would be basically like AI generated videos that didn't really happen. They could emulate a person or maybe a crisis. I know some places had to deal with like fake tornado damage that people were creating or global war situations, fake images or videos from that. So Sora 2 is actually, again, being sunset. But also Microsoft Copilot, that's an AI-powered digital assistant from Microsoft, so it may already be included in some of the other programs you're using. I know Microsoft's pretty popular with a lot of agencies. Claude from Anthropic, that's another really helpful LLM that you can leverage, similar to ChatGPT, but I've heard a lot of rave reviews that it sounds a lot more human than ChatGPT. So a lot of people prefer the way that basically it's able to contribute to any text suggestions, or maybe they use it to help write an article, something to that effect. Now, Google down here at the bottom left, they've got quite a few tools. So their LLM would be Gemini, and then Nano Banana, which is really fun to say, for images, video, VEO3 for video, and then Notebook LM. What's really interesting about that, we hosted basically a webinar last year with Google to talk more about all their different tools. But what I found really interesting about Notebook LM is that it's going to be pulling from your internal sources. So I know a lot of times people can get nervous about using AI to basically generate answers because it's pulling from anything on the web. So it might pull from things that aren't accurate. But Notebook LM, you're going to upload your own sources to it. So maybe you have an internal social media policy or a press release that you're not ready for it to be public. You can upload various sources to it. And then whenever you ask it questions, it's pulling from those internal sources, not external at all. And it'll show you basically citations of where it got that information from. So that can be a really helpful tool if you just need to brainstorm things that don't need to be public quite yet. Now, a lot of these other tools can help you with automations or AI agents, like Zapier, I know is a really popular one. And then, of course, we've got some vibe coding tools here at the bottom, like Claude Cowork as well. Okay, I'm catching up on the chat right now. Okay, you've been using Grammarly for years, John, ChatGPT for drafting content. Yes, fact checking everything. I'm glad you mentioned that because that is so important. As we mentioned, AI doesn't always pull accurate information depending on where it's getting its information from. So it is always important to fact check anything you're getting from AI, even if you're just using it to maybe help you draft a caption. Maybe you added the information and said, hey, can you clean this up, make this sound better for LinkedIn? Still triple check it just to make sure it doesn't pull in any inaccurate information as well. And then Gemini is good for Q&A. Yes, I agree. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to why it's so important to be up to date on AI, even if you're not actively using it. So, LinkedIn has actually found that there's a lot of studies that are saying that LinkedIn is a really common citation source for AI powered searches. So, really, what that means for you is that if someone goes to a search engine and they ask a question, the search engine's AI model may pull information that is found on LinkedIn and supply that as an answer. So that's really good for government just because it gets you thinking about the long form articles, newsletters, and just regular posts that could help you be cited in these AI searches. So I want you to think about how you could harness your subject matter experts to help author more original content. LinkedIn says educational content. That's really going to be your crown jewel. That's their way of saying it. And you should focus on being credible, not on going viral. So I think that's really important for agencies. And also, I do want to mention AI powered answers. Again, not always accurate. So, this is a really great opportunity for you to expand your LinkedIn presence, maybe beyond job postings, if that's all you're doing there now. So, you can get your content in front of more people and also increase their chances of getting accurate information, even if they don't ever plan on visiting LinkedIn. Okay, let's talk about getting other staff involved since I did mention having more articles and things like that. I know getting other staff involved in your social program, that's not always something that's easy, but that's really going to help you create more interesting content and spare you from burnout as well. It can really help humanize your agency and remind the public that there are real people at your agency who are doing real work. And I know visiting with other departments regularly, that's a huge help to start building those relationships. Encourage them to start sharing posts, parts of their day, I should say, that you can turn into posts. You know, even if they think it's something really boring, it's something they see every day. Keep in mind the public often doesn't get a chance to see what they're doing, and they won't get a chance to see that content without them sharing it with you. And it can be really engaging on social media. So I'm going to show you just a really simple example. This one is from Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. Okay, to keep time in mind, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's about 20 seconds of this really cute animal doing what this cute animal does. Now, in the caption, they say that an agency biologist captured this video while they were out in the field. And as you can see, this video took very little editing. Again, it's about 20 seconds. It's basically the raw footage. They didn't add any fancy sound to it or anything. Kyle, okay, Zoo Girl, I love that. Me too. It's very educational too, because again, they paired it with that caption explaining what this animal is and that their biologist captured this video. So just really simple things like this, if you're getting it from a lot of different staff members, can really help you stack your content calendar and have really engaging and informative content ready to go at a moment's notice. So look out for those standout personalities at work. They may want to be featured on your social media accounts. They could also help you create more of these scroll stopping PSAs as well. And I do also want to say that you should make it easy for other staff to get involved. You could set up an email address, for example. That's what I did when I worked for an agency where anyone could send in ideas for social media, visuals, that sort of thing. You could also try maybe a shared drive on Google for them to just drop content in a folder to make it easy. I know the very basic level would be them just texting you a video, but I know it's kind of hard to keep track of all that. You're getting texts from a lot of different people. So that's why those shared email addresses or a drive can really help you get a little bit more organized. And when you have them stored there, it can help you create more evergreen content in the future as well. And if anyone shares, of course, always tell them thank you. And it's really important to close the loop as well, meaning just sending them a link, say, hey, thanks so much for your video. Here's what the final product looked like. We've found that when agencies do that, it encourages that person to share more content. And then also they get excited about it. They want to share it with their circle too. So other people at your agency might get a little bit more excited about contributing to your social program as well. All right, so I've shown you a few videos, so let's talk in a little bit more detail about short form video. It's really one of the best ways to boost your reach and engagement right now. The ideal short form video length, that's going to be under 60 seconds, but sometimes you may only need 5 or 20 seconds to make a massive impact depending on what the video is. Now, recently, Instagram did share that videos over 3 minutes that can actually harm your reach on that platform, and that's a lot more work for you as well. So that's just the one little tidbit I wanted to mention on that. Now, if you do have a lot of information to share on one particular topic, don't feel like you need to cram it all into one video. Go ahead and break it down into a bite-sized series, sharing just one tip per video. That's really going to help you keep your content calendar going. And then you're not overloading people with a lot of tips where they just watch for a few seconds and then drop off and scroll away. And then when filming videos for social media, prioritize that mobile experience. That's really important. So authentic, unpolished videos, those often really outperform the highly produced corporate looking videos. And those really highly produced videos, they take a lot of time to make. So that's also going to be a huge time saver for you. The fact that the more engaging posts tend to be the more relaxed and unpolished ones. I do want to also mention you don't need a fancy camera to succeed with short form video. We actually ran a survey in our community and found that more than 70% of social govs that responded used an iPhone as their main device to shoot short form videos. I do also want to mention shooting in that 9:16 format. So I've got my phone here. Not an iPhone, an Android, but it still is effective. But you can see if I can get past the blur. If you just hold it up this way vertically, that's going to be that 9:16 format. So makes it really easy to do. You also don't need a tripod for every single video, but you really should have good lighting and good audio. I know Dollar Tree, for example, sells like a $1 little clip-on selfie light you can get. So it doesn't have to be super expensive. Just make sure things are well lit. As far as audio goes, we really like the DJI mini mic. It's wireless. It's got a Bluetooth connection straight to your smartphone, and it comes with two magnetic lavalier mics that you can clip onto people as well as windscreen. So it's a really powerful tool. Okay, John, you're asking about vertical formats or both. You concentrate on videos for Insta. Okay, so short form video for TikTok, Instagram, for example, vertical is the go-to for those. So if you're doing like a more long form video, that would be the horizontal for YouTube, typically for those long form videos. And I do want to show you also an algorithm hack for Instagram. You want to always upload your videos at the highest quality. So 720 pixels, that's really the minimum resolution. And let's see if I can get you this. I don't know what happened here. There we go. Okay, so this is your Instagram highest quality setting, a way to get into that. So this is obviously from mobile, but you'll click on this little hamburger icon at the top. You'll go over to your settings and activity, then your data usage and media quality, and then you're going to want to toggle on upload at the highest quality. And that's going to help make sure that based on whatever internet connection you're on, that even if you exported in that 720 pixels from whatever video editor you used, if you're on an unstable network connection, it might not actually upload at that quality you exported at if you don't have this feature turned on. So feel free to take a picture of that. And I'm sure it's going to be with the slide deck later too, as well, if you want to take a closer look at how to get to that feature. So let's talk about how you should tell a story with short form video. We're big fans of the hook, build, and payoff strategy. So hopefully I can find this slide here for you because I know they were in the right order. This is the first time I've used Canva to present, so bear with me. But we really like the hook, build, and payoff structure. So what that's going to do is basically give you a guide for how to storyboard your video. So the first 3 seconds of your video, that's going to be the most important. That's going to be your hook. And it's the best chance that you'll have to capture a viewer's attention before they're tempted to scroll away and go consume some other form of content. So your hook can be video, it can be audio, or it could be text. And you'll use the next few seconds after your hook to really build momentum. And then the payoff is going to be the viewer's reward for sticking around. So let's go ahead and show you an example. This is going to be from West Pierce Fire in Washington. Okay, pretty cute, huh? So let's break this one down. We've got the hook, the build, and the payoff, but let's go through it one by one. So the hook is that visual. What is this firefighter doing? It gets people's attention. It's not something they see every day. The build would be realizing, okay, it's a paper airplane, but where is this airplane actually going? So people want to stick around and see. Then your payoff is going to be this person doing CPR, and the airplane is the note saying, sign up for our CPR class. Just a really simple 20-second video that really grabs people's attention as opposed to maybe just showing a graphic about a CPR class. And again, diversify your content. So you can still post that graphic, but it's nice to have other ways of telling the same story as well. Now, algorithms, they really favor the watch time, and content that encourages people to comment or share it is really going to do well in the algorithms. So you could even try maybe a hook at the beginning, a text overlay that says something like, can you spot all the fire safety risks in under 60 seconds? Or can you make it to your safe place for a storm in less than 30 seconds? Could you pack your go bag in, under 60 seconds? Things like that to show basically your hook is what activity you're going to be doing in the video. Building is showing you actually doing it, and the payoff is seeing it all completed. And thank you for adding that note in there about sending the slides in a follow-up email. I appreciate that. Okay, let's talk about quickly how you can add short form video to your workflow in a way that's going to help you save time, because you don't need to be really a professional video editor to start producing more short form videos. There's a lot of apps out there like CapCut, Edits by Instagram, Canva, and then Adobe Express, and they offer templates. I wouldn't suggest using a template for every single post because, again, you want to be authentic, you want to be original, but this can really help you create more video more regularly without having to start basically from scratch. Now, I know we did talk about memes briefly, so if you do want to incorporate memes in your short form videos, CapCut's really going to be your go-to tool on mobile to quickly drop those moving meme templates in. And if you prefer a more structured approach to your video creation process, the storyboarding feature in Edits can be really helpful. Currently, Edits is a mobile-only app. So if you're currently using Edits, go ahead and let me know in the chat. Instagram has shared that posting to Instagram through Edits can really help you get an algorithm boost since that app is relatively new, but you can post to other platforms as well. You would just have to export and then upload to TikTok, for example, or LinkedIn or whatever. So even though you would have the same login for Instagram as you would for Edits, you can really use it for anywhere. So this is what that storyboarding feature is going to look like. If you're familiar with Edits, you'll want to go into the stickies feature, which is basically like sticky notes. And then you'll click on storyboard there. It'll take you over to another screen, and that's where you can organize your text and your visuals and really help you write to video. That's so important because you don't want to be talking about something for a while but not have a visual to match. So this really helps you map that out, especially if short form video makes you a little uncomfortable. It kind of gives you a roadmap to make sure that you're adding everything you want. And it gives you the camera or the gallery option. So let's say you already have this visual on your phone ready to go. You can just drop it in there. Or if you need to record something new, you can do selfie mode. You can record anything externally as well. And you also have the teleprompter feature in there. And that allows you to basically write a script in there so that you don't have to start from scratch with separate videos. You can just do it all within this storyboarding feature as well. And then once you're really happy with what your video looks like in the storyboard, if you hit that new project button, that's going to immediately take you over to a timeline with everything in the exact order that you storyboarded it. So you don't have to try to remove this and go start over with a new project. So it's a really helpful tool to save time while you're creating these videos. It can be really helpful, especially for a big campaign or a PSA as well. And also just this month, Edits launched a new update called Weekly Ideas that can help you generate about 10 video ideas based on anything you've previously created. So if you do use it a lot, that can help you come up with some new content a lot quicker. Okay, let's talk about comment moderation. Now, whether you post short form videos or not, a really great way to help your content reach is to get more people to engage with your comments quickly. And that can be on a regular post or a video as well. So the hack for that is if somebody comments on your video or your post, go ahead and respond to them in a meaningful way pretty quickly, because that is going to tell the algorithm basically, hey, this post is sparking a conversation. Why don't you show it to more people? And that can help you reach more people. So that being said, we know social media managers are often pressured by leadership to turn off comments, to maybe avoid criticism, or it's a way of countering misinformation proactively. But I do want to warn you that shutting down comments really sends the message that your agency is afraid of feedback, which can really erode public trust. Also, social media algorithms are designed to reward that interaction. So shutting off comments is going to work entirely against the algorithm, and it can cause your content's reach to plummet. So you won't be showing as many people your content essentially. So it's a best practice, both legally and for engagement, to keep your comments on. Now, a lot of government agencies, they can't just moderate social media pages the same way that private companies do. With the First Amendment, government agencies are required to protect free speech. So most speech is protected, even if you or your administrators don't like what's being said. So deleting or hiding speech that is protected is considered a federal civil rights violation, which means that your agency could be sued, or even you personally. So I did want to mention that. Now, a common misconception is that hiding a comment is a safe alternative to deleting it, but that's really not the case, because a lot of times courts have viewed that hiding a comment is basically censoring the speaker by taking their content out of the public eye, meaning it can carry the same risk as deleting it. So if your leadership does want to turn off comments or delete, hide them, we always recommend involving your agency's legal counsel so that they can help you as a guide for those tough conversations. Okay, and I see, Devin, you're sharing what your borough is doing. Okay. Again, if that's something that your leadership is pushing for, I would suggest having your legal counsel on board just to help guide that conversation and make sure everything, basically your admins are understanding what we're talking about here today. Now, for misinformation, I know that that is a huge concern. So our rule of thumb basically is if a comment does include misinformation, go ahead and respond to that as quickly as you can to basically limit a big influx of other people taking that misinformation and running with it. Another really helpful strategy is if you're seeing the same misinformation pop up again and again, especially in a crisis, pinning a post to the top of your timeline to address that, let people know what the accurate information is. And also, the really proactive way in dealing with it, with misinformation, is to post regularly, because when you're doing that, it's letting people know, okay, this page is active. I can go to it and trust it as a source instead of trying to go get my information elsewhere. Another really helpful way of dealing with misinformation is to deal with your local news partners. And that way they can help amplify your official source of information as well. So let's talk a little bit more about leadership. So we touched on it briefly with the comment moderation, but this comes up at almost every single agency, is trying to get leadership buy-in. So you can have, the best strategy in the world, but if your leadership doesn't understand the value of the social media program, then it's really going to be an uphill battle to do some of the stuff that we've seen here today. And so a really helpful thing to do is to make your wins relevant to them. So for example, instead of saying, our last post got 20,000 views, which any other social media manager would probably pat you on the back for that. Maybe not so much with leadership. Try saying 20,000 people saw our evacuation guidance before the storm happened, because that's a very different conversation. You're showing them not just, hey, we went viral, but hey, our content is making a difference in people's lives and potentially lowering our calls for service because people understand where to go during a storm, or they understand what to do during a fire, those sorts of things. Now, for emergency management agencies, especially, social media is a lot more than just marketing. It is that risk management, as I alluded to, because if your leadership is nervous about trying a new video style or a trend, for example, you could also suggest maybe doing a trial run. That way you're not totally committing to a whole new social media strategy, but maybe trying something that they're a little bit more comfortable with to see how it performs and also how your followers respond to it. So trial reels are a really helpful way to do that, especially if video is what might make them a little bit nervous. That's a feature in Instagram where basically when you post a trial reel, it's not going out to all of your followers. Instagram is first going to show that to your non-followers. So you've got about 72 hours to get a sense of how that video performs and decide, okay, this is doing pretty well. I do want to show it to my main followers. Or if it's not doing too well, then you can just leave it as a trial reel and you don't have to show it to your followers as well. So that's a really helpful tool a lot of social govs have tried out when trying out a new strategy. Benchmarking is also really helpful to try to move the needle with leadership. Benchmarking essentially means just looking at other agencies, seeing what they're doing online and how it's performed for them using just the publicly available engagement information you have. So for example, I shared how many likes and comments some of these videos we looked at here today got, or some of these posts got, checking out the comments to see how people feel about that content that they shared. I would recommend when benchmarking, look at agencies that serve a similar type of audience. So for example, if you're a fire department, look at what other fire departments are doing. Also look at other people that are just other agencies that are serving your community, because that can help you get a sense of how they might feel about a change in strategy. Now, we are running an annual awards program, the Golden Post Awards, which recognizes outstanding work by government agencies in 9 different categories. Plus, there are some special awards from the social networks. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because that's a really great source of inspiration for a lot of people in looking at the finalists and the winners in that awards program, giving them a follow, see what they're doing, and if it's anything you want to replicate at your agency. Now, I'm going to drop a link in the chat so you can see the finalists for this year. We haven't quite announced winners yet. That's going to happen in May during a special ceremony at our conference coming up. And that ceremony will actually be broadcast live to the public for free. So you can hop on and watch that if you'd like to see those winners live, and support any other social govs if you know them personally, especially. Now, the last thing I'll mention with helping with leadership buy-in is a social media audit. We recommend doing that at least once a year, but quarterly would be ideal. We know you're all busy. And as some of you mentioned, social media is not your full-time job. So we understand it's hard to have time for that. But a social media audit is going to help you do things like basically track what social media presence you have for your agency, maybe uncover some rogue accounts that you didn't approve or your agency didn't approve. It does things like that, but also you're going to be looking at your analytics. So you'll be looking at your highest performing posts and your lowest performing posts for whatever time period you're conducting the audit in. And again, quarterly is ideal, but that's going to really help you see, are there any similarities between the lowest performing content? Are there similarities between the highest performing content? And that can help you save a lot of time going forward, because you'll know where your time is best spent. Maybe a certain type of graphic doesn't perform well for you consistently, so that's something that you shouldn't spend time on anymore. Maybe a certain type of video is performing well for you consistently, so you know to spend your time more heavily on that type of content. Okay, I know we're coming up on our time here, so I'll be quick. I do want to talk about accessibility, because I know that is really top of mind right now for a lot of agencies. This month, on April 24th, or 26th, I should say, there's a federal web content accessibility guidelines deadline. You may have seen people posting about it as WCAG, basically for compliance for public entities with a population over 50,000. There's a deadline next year for other agencies that don't quite fit that bill. But for background, if this is the very first time you're hearing about it, back in 2024, the Department of Justice updated the Americans with Disabilities Act. So state and local governments have to meet accessibility standards for their digital content to include web, mobile apps, as well as social media. So when sharing videos, some best practices for that are to add captions. Most viewers, they already watch social media videos on mute. You know, maybe they're somewhere at work, they're not supposed to be on social media, so the video's muted. You know, maybe their partner's asleep, they want to be quiet. So that's not just going to help with accessibility, but also with engagement in general, because captions really make a video perform pretty well in an algorithm, and it's going to help people engage with your content. Now, I do want to talk briefly about open captions versus closed captions, because that's a question we get a lot. So open captions are burned into your video, meaning that they're always visible. That's the one you'll see most often on short form videos. And you can use an auto generator for programs like Canva, Instagram, the Edits app, or CapCut. They can auto generate using AI captions for you, but please always review them, because they don't always get things right. And of course, the entire goal of accessibility is to help people understand whatever you're trying to put out there. So just double check those, make any edits if those auto generated captions are not accurate. Now, closed captions, those can be turned on or off. So that's the difference on those. We also recommend that you use plain language on all of your posts. That's also going to help you with engagement and accessibility. The goal is to write simply so that people can understand what they read or what they hear the very first time they read or hear it. So for example, instead of saying, you know, a word like utilize, just say use. Keep things simple. I know a lot of subject matter experts might want to include a lot of agency jargon, but unfortunately, the public's not going to be able to understand or identify with a lot of those types of words. So just simplifying things as much as possible. Typically a 3rd to 5th grade reading level is ideal for plain language. Now, you should also add alternative text to any images, memes, or GIFs that you share. You can do that when posting to most social networks and also with some of those third-party management tools that we talked about earlier. Now, we often call it alt text for short, and I do want to show you an example. It basically means adding a simple description to your image or your graphic so that people with impaired vision can understand your visual. So some platforms do offer auto-generated alt text, but I wouldn't recommend relying on that because it doesn't always get things right. And you also want to include context about why you're sharing this image, why it's relevant to your post. So here's an example of how we added alt text to this post. We said, instead of describing like every single tiny detail, we explain the context of it. So it's two people smiling while taking a selfie, wearing Mickey Mouse ears at a welcome reception of a previous government social media conference at a Disney property. So we explained basically why we were sharing this image and why they were wearing what they're wearing in this image as well. Let's talk about emojis really quickly. They can add a lot of personality to your posts. I know AI, specifically ChatGPT, really loves to add emojis in any captions it's suggesting. That is a telltale sign of using AI to author your stuff, but also emojis have an additional complication for screen readers. So just try to avoid peppering your captions with emojis everywhere so that people using a screen reader can understand what information you're trying to convey. We are having an advanced session at our upcoming conference on accessibility and screen readers, if that's something you're interested in diving into for a more advanced training on that. Now, when sharing hashtags, use camel case or Pascal case for hashtags. I've shown you the difference here on the screen. Essentially, it's going to help people differentiate the different words that are included in your hashtag so it doesn't all kind of run together. And I will say also with hashtags, they aren't as popular as they used to be. So if you are going to use them, put them towards the end of your post instead of all over the middle. Same kind of rule of thumb with emojis. And definitely don't overuse them since the platform algorithms don't really like them a whole lot anyway and want them to be very specific to whatever it is you're sharing. Algorithms don't really like if you're trying to use a trending hashtag that has absolutely nothing to do with your post just to try to go viral, for example. Now, when designing graphics, avoid small or complicated fonts on your graphics that are hard to read. Also focus on really high visual contrast to help people as well. Now, we do have a roundup of resources because I know that there's so much that goes into accessibility that we don't have time to get into today. So we do have a roundup of resources to help you prepare for the upcoming deadline if your agency will be impacted. And it also explains more about that deadline if, again, this is the first you're hearing of it and you want to read more about it. So I'm going to drop some links in the chat. So the first resource is the one here on the right. It's a graphic request form that we built. It's totally free for you to use. It's not to request graphics from us, but more so to use internally at your agency. Let's say you have an administrator or another department who wants you to post a graphic on social media. It's a fillable form that helps them describe the purpose of the graphic, when they would need it by, attach any visuals if they need to. And then it has that accessibility check in there as well with a lot of the stuff we've talked about today. So double checking your font, for example, your captions if you're using video, alternative text, those sorts of reminders. Okay, so I'm dropping that link in the chat for you. And again, that's totally free to download. And then the other resource is just a reference guide for the upcoming deadline that we talked about. That's going to be a LinkedIn article that we've got for you. And that also includes an accessibility contrast checker, a link to that in there. So if you're unsure about whether your graphic is accessible based on the contrast, you can upload it there and it'll tell you whether it's accessible or not. Okay, I know we've got 5 minutes left here, so I'm almost done. The last thing that I'll mention is that our upcoming conference, which I've mentioned a couple times, that is going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana from May 5th through 7th. It's called the Government Social Media Conference. You can join that virtually or you can join in person, just whatever works for your schedule. Registration is ending later this month or until it's sold out. I know the in-person tickets, those have been selling really fast. So when I last checked yesterday, there were less than 200 of those left. So if in-person is really what you want to join, then keep that in mind. And I've got a quick QR code here on the screen so you can learn more about that if that's something you're interested in. But that's got beginner, intermediate, as well as advanced sessions for any point in your social gov career. And I'll be there and I would love to see you there and meet you there in person if you happen to be joining. And that's all I've got. Thank you. If there's any questions I didn't get to in the chat or anything else that just popped in your mind, please let me know. But I can share my LinkedIn in case you think of something later and you'd like to reach out.
Excellent. Thank you, Ariana. That was great. That was great. So just a couple of quick things. I have shared your LinkedIn and a link to the conference in the announcement. It'll also go out in the follow-up email in case they missed it, so they don't have to stress on that. I did see one question. I think you touched on it, but somebody from Kentucky State University asked specifically, do the accessible guidelines that are getting ready to come out apply to social media for a state university?
Yes, so let me pull up. I've got some notes here for you. This can kind of help you if you're not able to click over into that longer resource. I know uh, sometimes clicking on links here in the chat can be difficult. So,
And I will make sure that they get all of the links from the chat in the follow-up email as well. So if somebody misses something there, don't stress that.
okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so I dropped more details on those deadlines there in the chat. And that resource is really helpful. It's got links to the actual website for the governing body over this. So I would really suggest taking a look at that. And when you do have these conversations, since it does include not just social, but web as well, include your IT department in these conversations, include your legal department, include your leadership as well, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and understands, hey, producing certain types of social media posts, they might take a little bit longer depending on what you want, because we do need to comply with these accessibility guidelines.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any other questions in the chat? I do have a couple announcements, so don't go away. If you would give me the screen back, Ariana, I will share my screen and we'll see. I've got somebody says excellent training, outstanding class, lots of compliments, lots of thumbs up on the presentation. Thank you so much. So if you have a question, you may continue to put them in. That is perfectly fine. Oh, there we go. So you all have my contact information, but just in case, here it is. The recording will go up on our Kentucky Emergency Management YouTube page. Past videos, there are several from 24 and 25. Those are on the CSEP webpage. That QR code there is for my contact information. Feel free to click on that and add me to your cell phone. If there are no more questions, I'm looking. Again, more thank yous and great job and loved it. So that's awesome. If there are no more questions, thank you for joining us. Ariana, again, thank you so much for doing this. This was great. And it is 1 o'clock on the dot. I appreciate every one of you being here. Have a great and lovely day, and we will see you again.